Morning guys, today I thought I'd take you through a fairly typical day in my life as a radiologist in London. Like most doctors, my morning routine is pretty streamlined. I'm not one of these people making elaborate breakfasts at 6 AM, peanut butter, jam, tea, and we are good to go. Today's on-call is from 1 to 9 PM, so it's a late start, which I actually prefer because I'm not particularly an early morning person. One of the nice things about radiology is you can dress a bit more relaxed because we're not a patient-facing specialty. I work at Guy's Hospital, which is in central London.
A few moments later.
And to be honest, when you're getting views like this, I don't think you can really complain. So this is the Shard, which is just opposite the hospital. Before we start saving lives, there is of course a small matter of securing caffeine, and I don't think I met a radiologist who operates at full capacity without a good cup of coffee. Radiology is one of those specialties that most people don't really see. Patients interact with the scans, but there's a huge amount happening behind the scenes. And here we have the reporting room. Most radiologists prefer to report in darkness, but I'm actually a bit of an anomaly. The first thing I'll do is whack up the lights, probably to the annoyance of everyone else. It's a little quiet today because it's on call, but hey, I don't really mind that. Let's get settled in, shall we? So this is the radiology reporting room, and at the start of the on-call, I get myself settled in, switch on my computer systems, and take a time to see what scans are pending and need reporting. As the radiologist on call, you have a few jobs, and that's number one, to of course report the scans from across the hospital. So we actually cover 3 hospitals on our on-call. That's Guy's, St Thomas's, and a paediatric hospital called Evelina, and that's in the heart of London. So as you can imagine, the caseload is quite heavy, but we do have a couple of other radiologists around to help out. We're also expected to do ultrasounds, and in particular, this is a renal transplant centre. So we have to scan the renal transplant, sometimes intraoperatively and usually post-operatively, to make sure that when they put the kidney in, it's working and it's perfused. And sometimes that can be quite a high pressure moment because you'll have the surgeon kind of peering over you, asking you, hey, look, is my kidney okay that I've just put in, or do I need to take the patient back to theatre? So sometimes the decisions we're making are quite high stakes, particularly with the on-call scans actually, because again, you need to make the decision of, is there some acute pathology, or can the patient basically, is this a normal scan and can the patient go home? The thing I find most difficult is just concentrating, because as you can imagine, you'll have like 5 normal scans, and then you'll be hit with an abnormal scan. And if it's a really subtle finding, you can just completely miss it. The key to any good on-call radiology shift is coffee. And I'm not a huge coffee drinker. I'll usually have tea, but if I'm really lagging like I am today, I'll just get a coffee and try and really switch on. Some of the other things we may be expected to do are some basic procedures. So, we're looking at basic chest drains and acidic drains, but we are quite fortunate in that we have an interventional team here who sort out any of the complex procedures. And I hate anything interventional, so that's much appreciated. As you can see, I'm definitely not dressed to do any intervention. I'm really excited to start the on-call and really crack on. Hopefully we'll see some good cases and I'll try and share them with you. After a couple of hours of reporting, it's finally time for lunch. One thing I do like about radiology is you can usually grab something to eat, which is nice. And I have to say, the selection of food in hospital isn't the best, but hey, I'm not complaining. I take my pizza wrap to the courtyard, chill out, before heading back to the reporting room, and of course, trying to stay hydrated in the process. I'm really not trying to get a kidney stone here. With hydration levels restored, it's time to get back to some reporting. This was actually quite a sad case. The patient had previously been treated for cancer of the esophagus, but unfortunately the disease had returned and spread to other parts of the body. What you're watching here is me reviewing a scan and dictating a report. A radiologist never types. The job is a bit like detective work. You're scrolling through hundreds of images, looking for abnormalities, trying to piece together the story and ultimately figure out why has this patient come into hospital. It's also a good reminder that behind every scan is a real person. It's easy to get caught up in the technology and the images, but every study represents somebody waiting for answers.
Abdominopelvic lymph node stop, no free fluid stop, no intra-abdominal collection stop. New paragraph, there's progression of the lung metastases at the image lung base, for example, 1.7 centimeter left lower lobe metastasis, previously measured 1.3 centimeter stop, no destructive osseous lesion stop. New paragraph, conclusion colon, new line. Disease progression within the image lung metastases at the lung bases, stop. No cause of the patient's abdominal pain identified, stop.
It's been a busy shift.
and I've just sat down to have a little coffee break at my favourite courtyard outside of Guy's Hospital. So this is part of King's College actually, and it's really beautiful. And I think as a radiologist, it's nice that you can have these opportunities. As busy as it is, I can peel away and I can just chill out for a little bit. The issue is I haven't done one of these on-call shifts for a good few months now. You kind of get out of the swing of the review areas or just the kind of phrases that radiologists are used to using. I've been doing my PET fellowships. I'm very much tuned in to PET-CT, but I haven't done much acute reporting in quite a while. I am enjoying it. It is nice to see the acute pathologies and be in the mix of it. But yeah, I think it's a very different pace to what I've been used to recently. What have I seen so far? I think I've seen progression of cancer, I've seen a gallbladder perforation, intracranial hemorrhage, and yeah, probably a bunch of normal scans mixed in with that, which always makes it a little bit challenging. But yeah, I think I've got a couple of hours left now, and then I am done.
Another big part of the job that people don't often appreciate is the amount of communication that goes on behind the scenes. By the way, the person sat next to me here is my friend Rahul, who's also a radiologist. One of the nice things about the job is that you're surrounded by colleagues who are constantly willing to discuss cases, and it's actually very social. In this particular example, I had received a call from the intensive care unit from one of their doctors about a scan I'd reported. The patient had tuberculosis and had been intubated, and the clinical team wanted clarification on whether there was any evidence of bleeding into the airway. A lot of the phone calls we take involve vetting or approving scans, and I have to admit, that can often be quite tedious as it can interrupt your train of thought when you're reporting complex cases. Having said that, it is sometimes nice to speak to colleagues, particularly when it's explaining a tricky case. Despite the stereotype of radiologists sitting alone in dark rooms, it is surprisingly collaborative and we do like to speak to people.
The ET tube and the NG tube going down, that looks fine. There's nothing in the airway. And there's nothing around the pharynx that would explain his hemorrhage. Just looking for there's no arterial blush or anything, yeah. Okay, nice one. Cheers, thanks, bye.
Next up, I'll take you on a little tour of the department. Here's one of our x-ray rooms, and that's the x-ray machine there, and there's the couch that the patient lies on, and finally in the corner you have this glass screen which contains lead to protect the operator from the radiation. This is our CT scanner in the control room. CT is really the workhorse of modern radiology, probably the modality I spend the most time looking at. It's essentially a 3D version of an X-ray, and it's fast, detailed, and incredibly useful in acute settings. So patients coming through A&E with any sort of difficult presentation, like tricky abdominal pain or really bad headache, CT is our go-to imaging modality. Unlike MRI, which is a bit like a coffin, the CT donut is fairly open, so claustrophobic patients actually get on fairly okay with it, which is nice. Here is our ultrasound room. The ultrasound machine is a very expensive piece of equipment and it uses sound waves to produce images, but there's no way you're getting an image without jelly. Jelly goes on the probe, and then you put the probe on a patient, and then you get your pretty pictures. Last but certainly not least, here is the interventional suite where I spend very little time at.
And that is officially a wrap for the on-call shift. I think I was a little bit rusty, but definitely got there in the end. I think, reporting PET for the last few months has slowed me down, but I definitely missed the acute reporting. Actually being there and directly impacting the patient's life through your report acutely is something I definitely miss. I'm glad I did the on-call shift. I'll probably try and do these maybe once a month or so, just to keep up the skill. But it was good fun. And the thing I forgot is that at the end of the on-call shift, you're not physically tired, but you do feel mentally drained just sitting there reporting all those scans. So I'm really looking forward to going back home and just having something really nice to eat and chilling out. And the good news is I have tomorrow off. So yeah, hopefully we'll relax and take it easy. There's Guy's Hospital in the background. And yeah, the view doesn't really get much better than this, so.
And as the sun has set, we can see the Shard there in all of its glory, and I am on my way home. If you enjoyed that, please do like, share, and subscribe.